for 2. Kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for 2. Sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo! This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, guys? Welcome to episode 222 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are here every Wednesday night on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Syndicated on all major podcast networks and streaming in the Going For Two app for iOS and Android. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. You can follow him at Foss534. What's up, Ryan?
Oh, man. Living the high life after... Oh, I'm getting feedback there. Sorry. Living the high life after that Ravens win over KC this weekend. Doing some dominating fantasy. Unlike you, who just got eliminated in our guillotine league.
Ah, brutal.
Terrible
Yeah.
teammate in it. It's okay. We'll survive.
Yeah, it's for the listeners out there. The reason he's saying terrible teammate is because it's a 18 team, 6 divisions of 3 teams, and each division is a team. So me, Ryan, and Jay were on a team in the same division together, and you're encouraged to collude. You're encouraged to trade players back and forth. You work together on the draft. You work together on waiver wires, and I got eliminated in week 2, so I'm already out.
I'm not only one person to trade with.
So. Yeah, exactly. So you're handicapped now. Yeah, my team just did not show up. All right, let's introduce our guest tonight. It's his first time on the show. I've been on his show a couple of times, so I figured I had to have him on our show. Josh Fuster, co-host of the Front Yard Fantasy Football Game Show. You can find it every weekday at 3 p.m. You can follow him at FYF Josh. Josh, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm happy to be here. Yes, like you just said, I am the co-host of the Fantasy Football Game Show, streaming live every weekday at 3. Also, we've been streaming on FanDuel's YouTube and Twitch every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We host the Front Yard Fantasy Hour, and then on Sundays at 7 o'clock Eastern, we do a Sunday recap of the day's game also on FanDuel's YouTube and Twitch channels. So, hey, we're just doing that. We're having a good time. We like to have a good time.
Good stuff. Yes, good stuff. And if y'all haven't checked out his show, it's pretty cool. Like I said, I've been on there twice. The first time I went on, we played Fantasy Horse, a trivia game that I was terrible at that day. And then I came back on and we played Fantasy Wheel of Fortune, and I crushed the trivia part, and I couldn't get the quizzes. I was like, oh my god. So not a great showing by me on either one of those shows. But
I'm 2-0. Once live at the I won at the expo, and I won when I came on the show.
Oh man, my co-host is showing me up tonight. He's talking about my league, and I get kicked out of my league, and oh man, it's not off to a good start.
We're gonna have to get you both on the show sometime. Maybe get some internal,
there we go.
competition going between you guys. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, we can definitely do that one of these times. Good stuff.
Or maybe we could pair one of you guys with one of the FYF guys, and then have a team battle. That could be a lot of fun too.
I like it.
We love playing games, by the way.
I love anything competition. It's like it's bad.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you, man.
Good stuff. All right, Josh. So you kind of plugged a little bit about what you do over at FYF, but just give us an idea of kind of how you got into the industry and what you've been doing through the time in the industry.
No, absolutely. So really, been playing fantasy football pretty much. It feels like my entire life since I could really comprehend like the stats and everything. I think I was playing when I was 7-8 years old, doing a league with my older brother. But always loved fantasy football. Really started getting into the industry about 1.5 years ago. My good friend John Luke JL. I also co-host the Front Yard Fantasy Game Show with him. He reached out to me and he was just like, hey, we're thinking about doing a podcast. We're just gonna do it once a week, kind of have fun. And the podcast kind of fell through, but last season started and we're like, hey, we're gonna stream every weekday. We're gonna stream Monday through Friday every weekday, and we're just gonna see how it goes. At first, we sucked, and every day we just got better, and we've been doing it every weekday since. And it's just it's a really good time. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy hopping in there every day at 3 o'clock and just hanging out with my buddies talking about football. I've said it so many times. I could talk to a blank wall about fantasy football. I just love talking football. So we just our show's centered around having a good time playing games, competition with each other, but also giving good fantasy information when we can. You'll have a good time watching us, and you might even learn something.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Even the listeners get to chime in there and try to guess the answers, and it's pretty cool. It's definitely a cool format. I love it. All right, man, let's get to the 5 101s.
And now the 5 101s.
All right, by now everybody knows how this works. We're going to give you 5 categories, and you're going to give us your 101 for that category. And the first one is quite fitting. I figured we go with this one first since you do a game show. We're going to give you the 101 of game shows for you.
Well, other than the Front Yard fantasy game show, right? Outside of that, it honestly, for me, my 101 of game shows, and it's pretty chalky, it's probably Jeopardy. I know it's an OG, I know it's classic. I'm not even necessarily good at Jeopardy. Maybe I know about 10% of the answers, right? But I love trivia, and I love learning something when I'm watching something. So that's really, it's got to be Jeopardy. Everyone loves a little bit of Jeopardy, right?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. That's definitely one of the OGs of game shows. I mean, I grew up watching that show. That's how long it's been on, it feels like. So let me ask you real quick, how did you feel about the whole co-host, or the whole hosting thing? Like, how did you feel that whole thing worked out?
I actually think it was a great idea. Unfortunately, Alex Trebek, he passed away, and he's such a legend. Like, if they just brought in someone to replace him right away, like, that person was set up for failure. Let's be honest.
Yep.
You can't compete with Alex Trebek, right? So the way they did it, they first brought on, I forget his name, the guy, he was on the show a bunch, he did really well on the show, but he did a really good job.
Ken Jennings.
And Aaron Rodgers. Ken Jennings did a really good job. I think he would be a great host, but I think it was very smart what they did. They separated it out, had a bunch of different co-hosts come on, and it was no one replacing Alex Trebek, which I think was the key there.
No, I agree.
So I think it was smart.
Definitely cool. All right, let's go to our next category here. Your 101 of fast food restaurant chains.
So, my 101, I feel like I'm going to get some heat for this, but it's Chipotle. Chipotle is my go-to. I love a good Chipotle bowl. I had one earlier. I swear to God, I went to the gym afterwards. There's a Chipotle right next to my gym, so it's very easy to go to. So that's probably why I go there so much. But I love a good burrito bowl. Can't go wrong there.
Yeah, my wife loves Chipotle. I'm not a huge fan. I don't mind it. I'll eat there, but yeah, my wife loves that place. She'll go there every day if she could. All right.
And I do want to throw out, I love Five Guys as well. That's a close second for me. I love a good burger.
Good
and
stuff.
Their fries are.
Yeah, definitely. You get a ton of fries too, almost too many.
Oh yeah. Oh, I eat them. I eat them all.
You never have too many fries.
Good stuff.
No. Cooked in the peanut oil too. Ooh.
Definitely. All nice and greasy. That paper bag gets all greasy. If you leave it in there too long, it's going to rip.
Yes.
Yep.
You know what's up.
Yep. All right. What about your 101 vacation spot?
So this is a tough one for me. I love the beach. I love being on the beach. I love just relaxing, maybe throwing around a football on the beach, just hang out, swim a little bit. So growing up, I went to Jamaica actually quite a few times. It was my dad's favorite spot. He loved going there. I've probably been there 5 times. So I'm going to have to go with Jamaica. I know they don't have the nicest water, the nicest beaches that you could possibly find out there, but there's just something about the closeness of it. It's not too long of a flight here. I live in Maryland. It's a pretty quick flight, 3 hours. I like Jamaica, 101 vacation spot.
That's a good one. That's definitely a good one.
Yeah.
All right, this next one's pretty open-ended here. You can pretty much go any way you want here, but 101 bucket list item. So something that you want to do that you haven't done.
It's funny that you bring this up because I was actually just talking with one of my buddies the other day. I was saying, I really want to go skydiving. I know that's a classic bucket list item. I know some people are just like, oh, hell no, I could never jump out of a plane. But I've always kind of wanted to do that, and I've never had the opportunity to. I've talked about it a lot. I got to make it happen before before who knows what happens, right?
Yeah, before 40, because I used to want to do it too, and then I turned 40. I'm like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got asked by my neighbors like a week and a half ago, and I'm like, that's not gonna fly in my house.
Yeah.
No. And how about base jumping? Base jumping, is that any different? Same thing for you?
That's way
That's
more
worse.
dangerous.
I know.
That's like 100 times more dangerous.
Yes.
I know. I was gonna bring that up. I was wondering if you knew, but you passed my test.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting the Travis Pastrana type things. We're going that way.
I would skydive before I base jumped, but I kind of want to base jump too.
I hope so. Like, I feel like you need to know how to skydive to base jump.
Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand. Agreed. All right, last one here. Your 101 of gaming systems, and this is all time, so not current game systems, all
You might
time.
age yourself there.
Yeah. So it's kind of a toss-up. I love the N64. You know, I grew up with that. That's got like all the childhood memories tied in with that N64. Mario Party, Super Smash Bros. Turok, a bunch of great games with NC, but I'm gonna go with the Xbox 360. Actually, that's where I played probably my most gaming. I was in high school. The Xbox 360 was where I played all my friends, and it's really a social thing too. You know,
Yep.
I get to actually talk with all my friends, kind of sort of hang out with them, and play lots of Call of Duty and Madden.
Yeah.
How many times did you get the red ring?
Or
was that on the one?
I never
That was on the
got
Xbox One. I'm sorry.
No.
It had it in the Xbox 360 too.
It
Yep.
was the 360. Yeah.
Yep.
I never got the red ring.
Yep.
Never.
No wonder you love it so much. Twice.
You got it twice?
Twice.
Well, you played like every day, all day, probably.
When I was sober. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, good stuff.
I've been there in the past too. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So a couple answers in the chat here. Gerson said Nintendo 64. Kyle's the Game Boy Advanced. And then they got into some of the games too, like Mario Kart and that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely. I'm with you on the 360 because of the social aspect. I can sit at home and not have to go to my friend's house to play. And it was Call of Duty. I mean, I'd get off of work at 11 o'clock at night, and I'd play Call of Duty till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then go to work the next day.
COD 4?
The original Modern Warfare, man.
Yes.
Yep.
That's COD 4. Let's go. That was the best game ever, maybe. If this question was 101 of video games, I think I'm saying Call of Duty 4.
Nice. Good stuff. All right, let's get to the news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
Our drops are extra loud tonight. I don't know what's going on with our drops, but I apologize for your ears. All right, news and notes, as always, brought to you by Dynasty Trade Calculator. Everybody hates bad trade offers, right? No one wants to be that guy. Never make a bad trade offer again with Dynasty Trade Calculator. Visit goingfor2.com/DTC to sign up for $15 a year. That's right. All you do is go to goingfor2.com/DTC and get the best trade calculator for $15 a year. Stop guessing, start calculating. All right, so the first note we have on here is basically twofold here. We got Deontay Johnson's injury and Big Ben's injury as well. I believe both for either out of practice today or limited. I'll go to you first, Ryan, on this one. Give me your thoughts and what are they saying? I know you live in Pittsburgh, so you probably hear all the dirt there. What's going on with these two guys?
Big Ben, they're just like business as usual. He's old. He's broken. He always plays injured. Like, you see that picture of him with his entire body wrapped on the field. That's Big Ben in a nutshell. I'm not worried about him at all. Deontay, they're claiming it's fine, so I'm not that worried. I'm going to adjust accordingly if that's the case, but I'm not that worried about it right now. Like, we thought it was more serious when it happened just because it was like the injury-plagued game for them.
Yeah.
And everyone's going down. Doesn't look that serious. So hopefully they dodge one with that.
Yeah, so let's just assume that Deontay Johnson is out this game, Josh. What are you doing with Juju or Chase in your rankings? Are you bumping them up pretty high?
Absolutely. Deontay Johnson's been a target monster so far with the Steelers. And those targets are going to be split up between, in my opinion, Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster. And actually, I prefer Juju Smith-Schuster in this scenario, or I raise Juju Smith-Schuster. Yes. I think, they're both more short area target guys, while Chase Claypool is a little bit more of a big play guy. So I think Juju would just be peppered with targets if Deontay Johnson were to miss this game. And to be honest with you, I'm a little bit nervous about him for this week.
Right.
The whole season, I think he's going to be fine, but I think he could miss this week.
I'd rather them sit somebody this early in the season. If they're like, if even like 20% wrong, I'd rather them just sit somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Steelers, so I don't care either way. But
yeah, you want them all to play injured.
but like no, I never root for injuries. It's terrible. But like from a football standpoint, it's this early, man. 17-game season.
Yep.
Sit them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that if there's any chance at all, I think you need to sit him for sure. And I'm with you. I think Juju's the one that benefits the most of the two receivers there. I think Big Ben's arm isn't what it used to be, so hitting those downfield targets to Claypool isn't going to be there. So I think Juju will benefit the most if he is definitely out. And it did look bad. I mean, I saw it. It's like the last play of the game. It was pretty much a pointless play to begin with, and he got hurt at the very end. It didn't look good, so I wouldn't be surprised if he missed this game either.
I saw it too. I was nervous for him because I got Deontay Johnson on a lot of fantasy teams. Actually, I'm a Ravens fan, just so you guys know. So from a football perspective, I was like, oh no. But from a fantasy perspective, I was like, oh no.
Oh man, I didn't know I had two Ravens fans tonight. I got Ryan and you both
it's
Ravens
the first
fans.
time ever.
I think it is the first time. Yeah, we've had plenty of Niners fans on, but we've never had Ravens fans. So you got one now, Ryan.
At least once a month with a Niners fan.
It's not that bad. All right. Next one we got here going to the quarterback. Justin Fields getting his first start versus the Browns, most likely because of the Dalton injury. I'll go to you first, Josh, on this one. Let's say you have Justin Fields on your bench or maybe on your taxi squad, and you have an average quarterback. Let's put it into like a Jared Goff type category. Are you starting Justin Fields?
Oh, I am absolutely starting him over Jared Goff. That's not really close in my opinion. Now, if we were talking about someone like, let's say Ryan Tannehill, that's a closer call for me. I was just looking at the rankings. That's when I really have a tough decision to make, and I think I'm going with the safety of Ryan Tannehill in that situation. But that's kind of where I draw the line. Anyone kind of below Tannehill, I'll start Justin Fields for sure.
Okay, are you in the same boat, Ryan, and in that same sort of area with Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, he has that rushing upside. I mean, they're going to protect him, or at least try to, but he can get 60 on the ground, 40 on the ground, and that's a lot of fantasy points right there. I'm starting in Superflex this week, reluctantly, so more out of necessity than anything else. But
right.
I'm starting him, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think he had like 30 rushing yards last week when he filled in for Dalton, and this week they're going to game plan those runs into it. So I think he can get even more, obviously. So I agree.
They could literally use him like Baltimore did, Lamar early, protect him with the run, have him do some predetermined runs, and it'd be nice.
Yeah, I agree.
He has to start for 200 yards with Allen Robinson and Mooney there. So he has good weapons. It's not like he's in a bad situation.
What do you think it does to David Montgomery's value? I mean, we've seen it in the past where running quarterbacks sort of up their value. You think it definitely goes up?
Way up. I love it for David Montgomery.
I'm right there with you, Ryan. I think it's good for David Montgomery.
Good stuff.
We see it over and over again. As soon as that read option comes in, when your QB runs a 4.5 or less, it's changed the game for a running back, and he's elite speed.
I will say that the counterpoint to that would be that maybe Justin Fields gets carries on the goal line and steals some touchdowns away from David Montgomery. But I'm not as worried about that with Justin Fields. I'm more worried with Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or someone that runs a lot at the goal line. I just don't envision Justin Fields being used a ton at the goal line. He will throughout the year, but.
And he'll get more goal line opportunities, have a better offense with Fields in there than Dalton.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, let's move to a wide receiver in Cleveland. It's going to be in that same game. Jarvis Landry is on IR with the MCL. And the receivers didn't look so great last week. It was Anthony Schwartz and DPJ. But they are getting OBJ back this week, we think. So, Ryan, what are you doing with OBJ? Yeah, so they say. I guess we'll see what happens on Sunday. So let's just assume that he's going to be active. Are you just plugging him in your lineup this week, Ryan, or are you going to wait and see how he plays first?
Honestly, I'm probably going to wait. The Bears' defense is a slouch. We don't know how healthy he is. They could literally put him in there and be a decoy. I'm not really messing with receivers there. I like the tight ends. That's who we've seen the most target. Their top 3 targets so far this season, with 8, and 6, have been their 3 tight ends with Hooper and Njoku and Harrison Bryant.
Yeah.
Like, they're there. So I'd probably start Hooper if I don't have one of the elite tight ends and feel okay about it. And I was talking like the going for 2 trap. I love Harrison Bryant just because he's an athlete out of that position and can maybe get some of those over the middle of the field touches that we saw Landry. But I think it helps the tight ends even more than anything else, and maybe some Hollywood Higgins.
All right, yeah, I was going to ask you, Josh, as far as the receivers that are there, any of them interest you if you're really in a pinch? Let's say you have, Antonio Brown, and he's your starter, and now he's possibly going to be out this week. Schwartz, DPJ, none of those other guys interest you at all?
Not at all, to be completely honest with you. It's a run-first offense. Like Ryan said, I'm even a little bit nervous about starting Odell. I'm putting Odell in my lineup if I need a wide receiver. I'm not really going to be too worried about it. If he is healthy and playing, I do expect him to get some targets because these other receivers just really aren't that good in my opinion. They're a run-first team. I think, yeah, like you said, the tight ends will get more involved, but we really can't start any of them because we don't know which tight end it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
So
Tight end by committee is never a good thing. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Not for fantasy.
No, definitely not. All right, let's move to a backfield that we've talked about probably like on every show so far this year. And the 49ers backfield, once again, we have no idea what's going on there, who's going to start. They've signed a couple of random guys off the street. I'll go to you first on this one, Josh. Let's just say you have to start a 49ers running back this week. Is it, let's assume that Mitchell is there, but they've got, I don't even know what the guy's name is, Patrick, is Jaquez Patrick, I think his name is, some guy off the street.
Yes, of course.
Dude, he played
Trenton
fullback in
Cannon.
college.
Trenton Cannon's there. Yeah, they got
Kerryon Johnson.
Chris Thompson got signed today. Like they got a bunch of randoms there. It's like,
is JaMychal Hasty healthy? I'm not even sure. Trey Sermon, he's got a concussion, but he's practicing actually. If all these guys are healthy, let's just say they're all healthy, right? We don't know. We'll figure out later in the week, I think. But it's Elijah Mitchell. It's got to be. He got the most work last week. Trey Sermon got 1 carry and got that concussion, and that was in the 3rd quarter, I believe, when he got his first carry. So you can't rely on any of these running backs outside of Elijah Mitchell. I don't know if you can really say you can rely on Elijah Mitchell, but I'm willing to put him in my running back slot if I need some help.
Yeah. Are you in the same boat, Ryan? Is it Elijah Mitchell for you as well?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, this is one of those things, if I had pieces of the 49ers offense, I'm probably messaging you about it because that's your team and you should know them. So I'm deferring that to you. Luckily, I don't have any and I don't want any part of them, but it'd be Mitchell if it's any of them. And if it's not Mitchell and we don't find out he's healthy, I don't want to start any of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Mitchell is healthy, and I'm pretty sure Hasty's out. He's got a high ankle sprain, so he definitely is not going to be in. Sermon's in concussion protocol. He's still questionable. He may or may not play. But even when he was healthy, he wasn't playing. So if Mitchell's also out, I'm not starting anybody in that lineup. If Mitchell's in, I'm still kind of nervous. I'd still rather find somebody else because I've said this before on this podcast that Mitchell can lead the backfield and get 12 carries. And then the next guy gets 10, and the other guy gets 8. It's like none of them are startable in fantasy. So it's kind of tough to start any of those in the backfield right now. So I'm with you on that. All right, let's move to a receiver that had a really good Monday night. Tyrell Williams for the Lions was out with a concussion, and a guy by the name of Quintez Cephas, which if you don't play Dynasty, you probably had no idea who this guy was. But he had a really good game. Goff targeted him early and often. He almost made one of the most ridiculous catches I've ever seen in my life. He almost pulled it down. He just dropped it at the last minute. So Ryan, I'm gonna go to you. Do you think Cephas is the real deal, or you think he just benefited from a bad defense of the Packers and the fact that there was no one else there?
I think it was a benefit of it to an extent. I like Cephas. I like him in that big body role. He fills in for Tyrell Williams nicely. But out of this offense, again, this is one of those similar things. There's only 2 pieces I want in that offense, and I'd ever want to start, and that's Hawkinson and Swift. I guess Jamal Williams, but I want no part of Cephas. It's great. I hope he does well. I think he's a nice red zone target. He scored in the last two games because he plays really big for being 6'1". But I'm not comfortable starting him or playing him or thinking about him. He's a deep stash for me in Dynasty.
Yeah, he's a stash for me. I've actually stashed him since his rookie season, hoping he'd do something. So I was excited to see him sort of break out last night. And I made a joke in one of my dynasty leagues that I own him that if he had made that catch in the end zone with the one hand, I would have traded him for it first because it was that ridiculous. But unfortunately, he couldn't pull it down. Josh, what are your thoughts on Quintez Cephas?
Hey, I agree with you, Ryan. He looks big for 6'1". He plays big and looks big.
Yeah.
He just looks like a big receiver. I don't quite remember him being that big. I don't know if he gained some weight from last year, but 14 targets, 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns in 2 games. That's pretty good production. Like, I'm not throwing him into my starting lineup anytime soon. Even if he has an big game, I'm still going to be questioning it. But is he worth an ad? Sure. I'll take a shot on him if I need wide receiver depth.
I'm not dropping Fab on him, though.
No.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big difference when we talk about adding somebody, and I think people get confused on it and, like, I don't have to grab him. I'm not dropping Fab on it. Maybe, like, a $1 bid.
Yeah. I've seen him go for pretty high in some of the leagues that I'm in, and I definitely wouldn't jump that high. I think, if it's going to happen, this is an offense to happen in because they don't have really anybody else at receiver. I mean, some of the guys they were throwing to last night or Monday night, I was like, who are these guys? I think Khalif Raymond was there. I think he had a catch, and it was pretty ugly. So if he's going to break out, this is a good spot to do it because he's got no one really in front of him. All right, let's go talk about a quarterback. Mr. Tua Tagovailoa out with a rib injury, definitely ruled out for this week. Ryan, I'm gonna go to you. Superflex league, deep league. Is Jacoby Brissett startable?
I mean, it's super flex, and if you're in terrible shape or you had to start 2 in the first place, I guess, because you do have the rushing upside with them. I don't feel great, and the Raiders have been pretty darn good again as a defense. So I'm not starting them unless I'm desperate. Like, if I have any other starting quarterback on my team, I'm probably starting the other quarterback. He's 32 of 32 for me. But if I'm in bad shape and desperate, I guess.
All right.
So Davis Mills or Jacoby Brissett. I'm putting you on the spot
Oh,
here. Yeah, right?
Gosh.
Because
I think okay, 31 of 32. I'm going Brissett over Davis Mills.
That's it.
So I was gonna throw that same question to you, Josh, but put 3 quarterbacks.
That's awesome.
I was gonna say Davis Mills, Jacoby Brissett, or Eason for the Colts. Which of those 3 are you starting?
I'm about Eason too. Brissett 30.
30 now. 30.
Yeah.
Ryan, exactly. He would be my 30th quarterback behind all the actual starters. Yeah, Jacoby Brissett, he's a fine backup. He's good to plug in there if you need someone, and he can run a little bit.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the only thing that boosts him a little bit is I think he is able to run a little bit better than Davis Mills or Jacob Eason.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's do one more here. Let's talk about Mr. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's 2 weeks in now, and we're seeing a lot of what we saw last year where he's just not getting the touches. If you're an owner, Josh, how worried are you about Clyde Edwards-Helaire going forward?
I feel like personally I am less worried than the general consensus seems to be. I've been a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan coming into the season. I was coming into last season, so I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He just had so much expectation coming in, being the only first-round running back being drafted that year on a high-powered offense. I'm still starting him, right? I'm starting him in every league that I have him. I'm not trying to trade him because I don't think many people want to trade for him right now.
Value's not going to be good.
You're selling low, so I think it's actually probably a buying opportunity, if anything. I'm not saying go out there and buy all the CEH you can, but if you can get them in the cheap, I think it's worth it.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm very much with Josh on this. I think, like, there's overreacting and reacting. And it's kind of a reaction thing. Like, I may have dipped in my rankings a little, but I'm still starting him. I think he is more of an RB2. He's had 2 really tough matchups. Like, Cleveland and Baltimore both can stop the run.
That's a good call.
And these were games where they had to score a ton of points. It's not in the game plan for him to be running the ball a lot when you got games that are 36-30 or 35-34. It's just not in the game plan. Would they get back to playing teams they're beating the shit out of, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to see a workload. He's at 20 carries.
Good point.
He also had 14 carries. If he gets in the red zone, we're singing a completely different tune in these games. I think he's an RB2, and I don't know if he has the ceiling we want him to have. He's still a really good player.
Yeah, I agree there. And I've heard some chatter on Twitter about people saying that Andy Reid's going to bench him because of that late game fumble. And
No.
Andy Reid is not Bill Belichick. I think we saw it even with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt fumbled his very first snap from in the NFL, and Andy Reid stuck with him.
It.
And I think he had like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns that game. So Andy Reid won't bench you for fumbling. If you keep fumbling, he will bench you eventually. Yeah. But one fumble is not going to end your career like it would in New England. But I think
he wasn't even expecting contact that quickly. Like Uwe was in there absurdly fast.
Yep.
AFC Defensive Player of the Week, you know. He was in there so fast. He wasn't even like functioning the whole ball yet.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. That was just a boom play, and he just he lost it. I think any running back in the situation probably would have lost it. So
I didn't know he found the hole yet. Like it was there. It was quick.
Yep, it definitely was. All right,
played by a Deontay.
It definitely was. It definitely was. All right, quick commercial break here, guys. Today's show is brought to you by ThriveFantasy.com. It's DFS for prop bets. Visit ThriveFantasy.com or download the app for iOS or Android. Use our promo code Armchair and get an instant match up to $50. Choose your 10 favorite prop bets to build your lineup. Compete against the rest of the field for cash prizes. Again, sign up at ThriveFantasy.com or get the app for iOS or Android. Use our promo code Armchair to get your instant match.
Going for Two Live and PlayPickup.com present the Pickup Props of the Week.
All right, if you haven't seen how this segment works, guys, this is what we do. I put out an article usually on Monday or Tuesday. It's got 5 prop bets in it from our sponsor, PlayPickup.com. Basically, they're widgets that are embedded into our articles, and you can vote on your favorite prop bet on which side you like. You enter your phone number into the little box there. It keeps track of all your picks throughout the season. You earn points when you're right, and those points can then be traded in for free stuff. I think they have like Fanatic gift cards on the website and a few other things that you can trade those points in for. So if you're good at doing prop bets, I mean, it's simple, it's easy, it's free. Literally just go to our articles. I have them embedded in pretty much every article. Vote on it, earn some points, get some free stuff. It's pretty easy. So we're going to go through 4 of them. We usually do 5, but I saw one of them was grayed out because Antonio Brown has potentially been ruled out for this week, and I did have one for Antonio Brown. So we're going to do 4 tonight. The first one I have here is over-under 74.5 rushing yards for Mr. Najee Harris in Week 3, Ryan. So over-under 74.5.
I'm actually taking the over this week for him. I think Cincinnati's the perfect opportunity for him to kind of get his feet under him and really have that game where they ride him, especially if Deontay Johnson's a little beat up, especially if Big Ben's a little beat up. You protect them by running the football, and he's been on the field all the time. And the best thing when you're available, you're getting volume, is a really good matchup, and that's what he has.
Yep, I like it. Josh, what about you? Over under 74.5 rushing yards for Najee Harris.
Oh, this is such a good line, honestly. Through the first 2 weeks, he had 45 against Buffalo and 38 against Las Vegas. If it was total yards, I would definitely hammer the over on this. Mm-hmm. But since it's just rushing yards and that offensive line just looks so bad for the Steelers, I got to take the under, actually.
All right, so it's split here, and the field is split. Right now it's 50-50 on the widget as well. So I'm going to be the tiebreaker, and I'm going to go over as well. I think he might get 75 rush yards, but it will be over. I think the Bengals, like Ryan said, is the perfect get right game. He got the carries. He's gotten pretty much every snap since the first week. So I think the workload is definitely there. I think he gets it with the Bengals coming to town. So give me the over there. Sticking with the running backs, I got Alvin Kamara as our next prop bet versus the Patriots, and his prop bet is over under 1.5 total touchdowns for Alvin Kamara in Week 3. Josh, this time I'll go to you first.
I mean, I got to take the under here. It's 1.5. The Saints offense looked really bad last week. I don't see how we can project Alvin Kamara getting more than 1 touchdown, personally.
Yeah, okay. All right, going under there. Ryan, what you got? Over, under 1.5 for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I'm going under too. Not only did he eventually struggled, Bill Belichick also always takes away a team's best player, and there's no question who the best player on this team is.
Good call.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess not. No.
He's probably the best player and second best player.
Yeah, like him as a receiver for that team is the best receiver and the best runner.
Yep,
so.
exactly.
Yeah, it's bad. Like,
and the way Winston played last week, he could be the best quarterback too, for all we know.
I said it, Jeff. I should have said it.
Poor James.
All right. I guess I just got stuck into the running back mode because we got another running back here. How many rushing yards will Derrick Henry have in week 3? Of course, he had that monster week 2, had like 35 carries, which is the most since like 2017, I think. So over under Derrick Henry, it's 99.5. So basically 100 yards or more if you're going to go over. Ryan, I'll go to you first this time.
Dude, I hate going over when it's the 100-yard area. I just don't like it. But they're playing an indie team that's struggling. They've got quarterback. They're probably going to have a nice lead and just hammer Derrick Henry. So I'm going to take over on it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there as well because I thought they were struggling last week, in that first half, and then all of a sudden they started giving the ball to Derrick Henry, and good things started happening all of a sudden. So they kind of realized, oh wait, we got this guy Derrick Henry in the backfield. We should probably give him the ball. What about you, Josh? You going over or under here?
Just because of what Ryan started out saying until he had his butt. Close to 100 yards rushing. I just cannot take the over there. I'm going to take the under. I could see it going either way, but I think the Colts defense is good enough to be able to stop him.
All right. I meant to give
slow him down. Let's say
slow him down. Yeah, there you go. I meant to give the results from the last poll there. So Alvin Kamara is over under on 1.5 total touchdowns. The field agrees with us under across the board. 75-25 on that poll, and then the Derrick Henry one, the field is going over 64-36%. With Henry, I guess, you get that recency bias when you have 100 and whatever you had, 185 yards or whatever. People are going to think that you can do it every single week. Can he? I guess we'll see this week. One last one here, and I put a tweet out just recently, and Ryan called it clickbait, and it pretty much was clickbait.
Because it was clickbait.
It definitely was clickbait. I'll fully admit it, but I said Saquon Barkley is washed. I don't really believe he's washed. I just wanted to get a pulse on Twitter and see how everybody felt about Saquon Barkley, and if you're a little extreme there, you get more reaction than you if you just put out a regular old tweet. So I wanted to see how everybody felt about Saquon Barkley. But the prop bet is over under 16.5 carries for Saquon Barkley in week 3. Josh, we'll go to you first.
So I'm finally going to take the over on one of these. I felt like a little negative Nancy here the last 3, but I'm going to take the over. I think Saquon Barkley is getting more and more healthy and implemented into this offense. His snap percentage has increased, and he's played 2 pretty tough defenses the last few weeks. I think this week against the Falcons, they're going to run him, and 16.5 carries, I think he'll be right around 20.
All right. Ryan, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm going with him. He's getting healthier. This team really needs to rely on their best player. Their Philip Shepard's been awesome. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's going to start getting some more volume, and we see Barkley evolve.
Yeah, I'm going over as well in this one. I think I don't think he'll get quite to 20, but he'll be in that 17, 18, 19 range for sure. And with the Falcons, I think they're going to be able to continue to run because the Falcons won't get up big on them. It'll be a close game. Barkley will still be involved into the offense. So, yeah, I think 16.5 is a pretty good number. So let me get the over on that one.
Jeff, what did you go last week?
Honestly, I forgot to check. I need to go back and check because, we're
0-5.
Yeah.
I was 2-2.
2-2. All right, I'll have to go back and look. I forgot to go back and look. I'll do that because I want to get that contest going. We're gonna have a contest, me and Ryan.
I didn't do week 1, so we're not counting that.
Not counting. Also starting for week 2. All right, so I will have to go back and get week 2.
I just went 4-0, so lock it in.
Lock it in. The field agrees here with Saquon Barkley over 16.5 carries for week 3. Let's get to our next segment here.
Let's play
Devil's Advocate.
All right, the way Devil Advocate works, I had Josh give me 3 players that he was high on this week, and Ryan gets to play Devil's Advocate and tear those players down. And the first one on the list here is Mr. Kenny Galladay. Josh, give us why you like him so much.
Kenny Galladay, that's the guy I want to bring up. Listen, I was not high on Kenny Galladay coming into the season. I put out a video titled, I think it was Avoid Kenny Galladay in 2021 Fantasy, but it has nothing to do with his talent. It's more of his situation. However, I do think this is the week we can finally trust Galladay and feel comfortable putting him in our lineups. Look, he was dealing with the hamstring injury throughout the preseason, and it does take time to develop chemistry with your quarterback. I think Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay are starting to develop that chemistry. Galladay's also getting pretty decent targets. He had 6 targets against Denver in week 1, 8 targets against Washington last week, and he's also on the field 85% of the time. And the real reason I'm so excited to play Kenny Galladay in my lineup week 3 is his opponent. We just talked about him, the Atlanta Falcons, who have been destroyed through the air by the Buccaneers and the Eagles the past 2 weeks. The Falcons' defense is just not good, all right? Look, the Giants paid Galladay a lot of money to come to New York, and they are going to want to show this just wasn't a waste of money, right?
Yep.
I envision Galladay having a big game in week 3, peppered with deep targets from Daniel Jones. So I'm not a big Galladay fan for the whole season, but if there's a week you can play him,
this is the week
against the Falcons, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it. Ryan.
Few things with Galladay, just little thinks on him that kind of concerned a little bit. He still has health concerns. He's not fully healthy 100% yet, which I think could be being part of this. Yes, I know he has 14 targets in 2 games, which is really nice, but Darius Slayton has 13. He's right there. Sterling Shepard has 19, and we're getting a healthy Saquon Barkley back. And we're in a game against Atlanta, who's just struggled everywhere. And we just talked about Saquon Barkley say 20 carries from me earlier tonight. Something has to give in that, and I'm just not there with fully Galladay, and I don't know if he's there with Daniel Jones yet. I feel okay starting in the flex. It's not preferred, but I'm okay starting him. I don't want to I'm not completely down on this one. It's just because I'm forced to, but there's some worries for me. There are some legit worries. I benched him for Mike Williams this week, and no hesitation on it. But
I don't blame you there. It's more like I see guys like Robbie Anderson and Tyler Boyd ranked ahead of him. Guys like that, Devontae Smith even. I don't know. I want to put Kenny Galladay in there, and I think he's got more big play potential than any other person on this team, other than Saquon Barkley, just taking the ball and going forever.
And I like the touchdown upside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So
receiver.
We have a comment in the chat, and it's worth just mentioning that I think Kyle has lost his mind here, but he said he's debating starting Daniel Jones over Aaron Rodgers this week because of that Falcons defense. I don't know if I'd go that far. I think I'll pass on that one. It's Aaron Rodgers for me.
Kyle, don't overthink, buddy. I know you like to. Just don't overthink it.
Especially because he's a Packers fan, too, which makes it even more weird.
Yeah, maybe it's got some inside information.
Yeah, maybe he knows something that we don't know. All right, our next Devil's Advocate player is, and this one's going to be an interesting one because I got to hear this one too, Josh. It's Mr. James Robinson.
It's James Robinson. That's who I want to talk about. Yeah, James Robinson, his start to the year has been a bit lackluster, right? And I think people were concerned about putting him. I think they're just concerned about putting him in their lineups in week 3, right? But look, Robinson's snap percentage and percentage of running back touches has increased from week 1 to week 2. And I think people were a bit worried about Carlos Hyde getting more carries than James Robinson in week 1. But Carlos Hyde only received 2 touches in week 2. I just don't think that Carlos Hyde is going to be very involved in this offense throughout the season. The Jaguars need to get their running game going if they want to be successful this year, and James Robinson is their best runner by far. I just hope that Urban Meyer realizes that, right? So Laviska Shenault does have a shoulder injury. He is playing, but I believe some of those short area targets will go James Robinson's way. I fully expect Robinson to get over 15 touches in week 3, and I believe that leads to fantasy success, even if they fall behind a little bit against the Arizona Cardinals. Currently, I see Robinson ranked behind guys like Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, Elijah Mitchell, and I would play James Robinson over all these guys. He's a running back 2 in my mind, not a running back 3.
Okay, all right, good argument, Ryan. What you got for your counter argument?
So I do believe he's RB3 this week. I'm not in on it. The game script is just so bad. Arizona is just putting up absurd amounts of points. Kyler Murray's lighting people up. When teams go down like that, they go to their passing game and throw Trevor Lawrence to the wolves and let him throw. And if he's getting pressure, you throw more. I guess the Arizona team has been getting turnovers, which leads to bigger lead, which means more passing. It's just a really bad game script for them. Arizona's also has allowed the 8th least amount of rushing yards, and we haven't seen a score out of Jacksonville on the ground yet. And I don't think a team that's done fairly well against the run, enforcing these negative game scripts, is going to be the first one to do it.
All right, good stuff. And the last one we have here, I mean, I can see both ways. I think if I own James Robinson, I probably drafted him pretty high. I'm probably starting him just because I feel like I have to, at least through the first 3 weeks. But yeah, I'm definitely not excited about it. But if those guys, like you mentioned, the Myles Gaskins and the Mike Davises, those guys, they're struggling too. And I think if you're looking at the offense and whatever else, I think Robinson has the better option to score and potentially get some more carries. So I like that. The last one we got here is the guy that surprised the hell out of me. I had him in my top 12 because it's a tight end position, and that's just what you do when a guy scores touchdowns. But no one saw what he's been doing so far these first 2 weeks. Mr. Rob Gronkowski, of course, has 4 touchdowns already on this young season. So why do you like Rob Gronkowski this week?
It's not that I don't think people are sleeping on Gronk as their starting tight end for fantasy anymore. That's not the case. I'm sure most people know how good of a season he's actually had so far. He's currently the tight end number 2 in fantasy scoring and has in a PPR league. And has, like you said, 4 touchdowns through 2 games, which probably is not very sustainable, right? So I do understand that. But I want to bring his name up because I see him ranked behind, again, it's a lot of guys, a lot of other tight ends in week 3. And that's where I kind of chose these names from. I was looking at a bunch of different rankings, and I was seeing where they were ranked. And there are places I see Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas, Noah Fant, and Kyle Pitts ranked above him. And honestly, in my mind, that's just crazy because Gronk is a top 5 tight end for me. I'm even playing Gronk above Mark Andrews this week. And I'm a Ravens fan. And if I had both of these guys, I'd play Gronk over Mark Andrews. And I would even consider playing Gronk over Kittle. Look, Gronk came out of retirement last year, and it takes time getting into game shape, getting acclimated to a new offense, and he still finished as a top 10 tight end last season. This year, he's ready to go. He's used to the offense. You're an idiot if you're betting against Tom Brady, and his connection with Gronk is absolutely real. Now, the Bucs do have a lot of weapons, but Antonio Brown's on the COVID list. And if he misses this week, that only means more targets for Gronk. Gronk is absolutely a top 5 tight end for me in every format.
I like it. Good argument. Ryan?
Dude, every week you do this thing. I have one where, I have no idea. I'm thinking of angles for Gronk. I guess you could say, like you mentioned, about targets going in other ways, but AB's out. That hurts there. PFF has that ranked the second best matchup for any tight end because he's going to have Kenny Young on him, who's fine. He's not a coverage guy. Everything goes in its way for that. Maybe they go up, but I don't know. I see no real way. It's going to be, and they're going to be throwing a lot too. I really can't figure out any way where I'm not starting Gronk.
Exactly. I just don't see how he's consistently ranked as the number 9 tight end.
Yep.
I just don't get it.
I think 6 would be the lowest for him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
the absolute lowest I could rank him. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and I'd honestly, like you mentioned about Kittle, as little as I trust that San Francisco offense, I might start him over Kittle. I mean, I don't think I have the balls to do it, but
I wouldn't fault you for it right now because I have Kittle in one of my teams, and I'm hating life right now. I went out and traded to get him, and he's not been producing so far. And funny story about you mentioned Fant when you're talking about guys you'd rank Gronk over. This past weekend, I had a guy for DFS ask me, Fant or Gronk this week, and I chose Fant, who was the chalk. I was like, Fant's the one who have the most targets, and of course, that didn't work out so well for me. I should have just stayed with Gronk on that one, but Gronk's been playing great. I don't see any way you can bench him right now. I don't see unless you've got Waller or Kelsey. I think he's pretty much that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, maybe Hawkinson.
It'd be hard to. Yeah, I mean, Gronk has more touchdown upside than Hawk, even though Hawk just had a really nice touchdown this past week. But in a PPR league, it'd be hard to start Gronk over Hawk.
Agreed. Yeah. All right, let's get to some of these listener questions here. First one is from Jalen Watkins. He says he has Ayuk, he has Sermon. This person he's trying to trade with is willing to give him Sermon for Ayuk. It's a half-point PPR, 1 quarterback league. So, Ryan, which side do you prefer straight up, Ayuk or Sermon?
I mean, in it, I guess Sermon, just because of the uncertainty at the running back position there. And I think we've seen Devo prove he's a wide receiver 1. Kittle proved he's their second target, and they just don't pass a lot enough where I'm trusting a third target. And the way these injuries are in this team, Sherman could end up being the starter there. So I'm just kind of going off of that upside.
All right. So what about you, Josh? Ayuk, Sermon, straight up.
I'd have to hang on to Ayuk in this trade personally. Sermon just isn't it for me. I mean, I got to see something from him first. Ayuk had a fantastic rookie season. He looks so good. I do agree Debo looks like the man. It looks like the man there. But I would have to hold on to Ayuk still. But I was low on Ayuk going into the season as well. So I have been nowhere.
Yeah, I've been a Ayuk hater for a while. So
Yeah, he has all off season. He's been pumping up Debo all off season, so he's taken his victory lap a few times on this show already.
Right, great call.
All right, so we're going to skip that one about Kittle because we kind of talked about him already. We'll go to this next trade one. It's a big trade offer, so let me try to get this out there so everybody can understand. So he got offered Chris Godwin, Deebo Samuel, and a future second-round pick for Dalvin Cook and Marvin Jones. He doesn't say what kind of league this is, but he does say he has Gibson, Mixon, Damian Harris on his bench and needs help at wide receiver. So he'd be getting Godwin, Deebo, and a future second for Dalvin Cook and Marvin Jones. Ryan, I'll ask you, which side do you take here?
That's a hard pass for me. I'm taking Dalvin Cook's side. I want that elite running back. I want the elite player in this group. He's a top 4 pick. Any format we're at, Dynasty Redraft. He's a beast, dude. He's going to get volume as long as he's healthy. That they didn't even care that he got knocked out of the game twice. They just kept him in and kept pounding the rock.
Yeah, exactly.
He's out there. Dalvin's a lock to get you 20-plus fantasy points, and you never, ever, ever have to worry.
Yep.
Everyone else there's questions. There's none with Dalvin. Just be patient. Trade one of those other running backs. You can get the drop-off from Godwin to a wide receiver 10 places down isn't that big. The drop-off from Dalvin to the running back 5, huge.
It's huge. Yep, it's huge. Are you in agreement there, Josh?
So I do agree. I think the value is on the Dalvin Cook side. From any kind of, perspective, like a draft perspective, Dalvin Cook's going to get drafted way ahead of these guys. I wish like one of these wide receivers was a little bit more of a top tier option. I love Chris Godwin, don't get me wrong. I love Debo. So this is a dynasty league though. So wide receivers are a little bit more valued, and this person needs lots of wide receiver help. I'm willing to make the trade. I'm willing to make the trade, but you're losing some value. I would look other places to try to see what you can get, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're moving Dalvin, you need that caliber of wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like you need Justin Jefferson back or DK Metcalf or AJ Brown. You need that caliber receiver, not these guys.
You could make an argument Godwin is in that tier receiver. I mean, he's played. I would say he's got more fantasy points through 2 weeks than all those guys. But this is a dynasty league, I'm assuming, with the future second. And I don't put Godwin in that same category, but I could see a world where someone does. You know, he's looked really good so far.
And this is his last year in Tampa. Who knows? He can go somewhere and be the receiver 1 for whoever team. It could be an upgrade or a downgrade at that matter. But yeah, I can definitely see it. I think like Ryan said, I think I might want more. But at the same time, like you mentioned, it's a long-term thing with those receivers. If you're a contender, I think I'm holding Dalvin Cook. If I'm looking down the road, I might move Dalvin Cook, but I still might want something else. I don't know what else I'd want, but I'd want at least one more piece there to make it stick for me. But it's pretty close if it's a team that you're looking to for long-term there. So I agree with you, Josh.
At least add a first.
Yeah. If you can get a first thrown in there, then it's definitely a smash accept for me at that point.
And I will say, in a dynasty league, Dalvin Cook's he's not old, but how the running back cliff hits, right? He's not he's not done yet. He's not done yet at all. But
they have no regard for his health.
Exactly.
They really don't.
Yeah.
Like those comments today made me very uncomfortable. Like they have no regard for him.
It might be time to look for a trade for Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
Do it when it's elite. Have patience.
All right, we have a question here in the chat that I want to bring up here. So he wants to say, so let's assume Davis Mills has a big game against Carolina this week. What kind of return do you think you could get in a Superflex Dynasty form if you're trying to sell high? Ryan, I'll talk to you first here on this one.
I'd want to try to get first, at least. Like, I want to be greedy about it. I'd probably take less, but I want a first.
Yeah. You
Like,
in the same boat? Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
It's like Carolina's been a pretty good defense this year, and I don't know, man. I think somebody could buy in on him being good. All you gotta do is find one person.
Yep. What about you, Josh? You think a first is where you'd be at too?
Yeah, I'd be looking for a first. If I could get a first, I'm smashing that.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't think I get it, but that's what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
If you can get like a projected early second, and I know that's tough to do at this point sometimes, but a late second for a starting quarterback with showing some promise is not a fantastic trade in a superflex format. So, yeah, I'd probably want a little bit more than just a second.
Yeah.
I'd probably be a little bit greedy myself, even though he's probably worth a second.
Yeah. And I think the situation with the Houston Texans is another reason why I think I might aim for a second, because there's a good possibility. I mean, we know that Jacoby Brissett is not going to be the starter with Miami, but Davis Mills, if he comes out and has a big game in this week 3, we know Deshaun Watson's not coming back, or at least we think we know he's not coming back, and Tyrod Taylor's not the answer, so maybe it is Davis Mills. And if you do get him, a big game here, maybe he is the starting quarterback for the Texans over the next 5 years or whatever. So aim for a first and then settle for less if you have to. So that's what I would be my advice as well. All right, let's do one more here. This is from Jonathan Ziegler. He says, need some advice. I got offered DeAndre Swift for CEH and Robbie Anderson. It's a PPR league, so he's getting DeAndre Swift for his CEH and Robbie Anderson, 2 guys that have kind of struggled so far this season. It doesn't say dynasty or redraft. So Ryan, I'm gonna go to you first.
I'm accepting this. Like, I want DeAndre Swift in this. I think he's getting volume. We saw him in a bad game where they didn't pass him that much to help decent fantasy numbers. And he's one of their only 2 weapons on that team. And it's going to be much, much more consistent CEH. I know Robbie Anderson's fine, great, but he's still not anybody who's going to make or break a deal for me on getting a top 10 running back.
All right. What about you, Josh?
So if it's a dynasty league, I lean towards the DeAndre Swift side. In a redraft league, I think I lean towards the other side, actually, the CEH Robbie Anderson side. I just think that CEH, we'll see how this next week goes, but he's been getting the bulk of the carries while there's Jamal Williams there for the Lions. That does concern me the rest of the year. I think DeAndre Swift's a more talented running back than CEH, and Robbie Anderson's look pretty pitiful, but I'd still hold out hope for him. He's still a usable option in my mind. I don't want to start him this next week, really, but so dynasty, DeAndre Swift side, redraft, I'm actually leaning CEH, Robbie Anderson.
All right. Yeah, I think you took the political route there. You could go either way with redraft for dynasty, and I think I'm with Ryan though. I think I want Swift. I mean, Swift does look really good, even though he's technically not the starter. I think Jamal Williams is still starting, but Swift's getting the workload, and I think he looks really good as long as he can stay healthy. I think in a long term for this season, I think I want Swift. All right, that wraps up the listener questions. Let's get to our favorite segment of the night.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, Josh, we've had some really good ones the last couple of weeks here. You got to come strong with your Forgotten Fantasy Player, man. What you got?
Oh, man, the pressure's on. I got to live up to the hype. But my Forgotten Fantasy Player is, drum roll, D'Angelo Williams. All right, D'Angelo Williams is my Forgotten Fantasy Player. Man, this guy, I don't know if you guys remember, but he was a stud with the Panthers when he was healthy, especially in that 2008. He was a stud, all right? 2008 season where he had 1,515 rushing yards, 5.6 yards per carry, 18 rushing touchdowns. He also had 2 receiving touchdowns that year, giving him a 20-touchdown season. Ooh-wee. I kind of forget about that. He followed it up with a very good season where he missed 3 games. So 2 great seasons in a row. However, injuries and competition, I'm sure you remember Jonathan Stewart years, did catch up to him where he wasn't as good of a fantasy player. But, man, he got his second shot in 2015 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, he wasn't the starter all year. He was playing with Le'Veon Bell. But once Le'Veon Bell got hurt, it was the D'Angelo Williams show. And from weeks 9 through 16, he was again his stealthy form. All right, I had him in my main home league that year.
Nice.
Right? And I rode him to the championship, and I needed him because I think that was the first year I ever went a 0 wide receiver strategy. So I was very thin at running back, and Yeah, he basically won me the championship that year.
Nice. It sucks that you have to remind me of that 2008 season because I actually owned DeAngelo Williams in that season, and he started off really slow. If you look at his game script, his game logs, so I traded him away for almost nothing, really. I was just trying to get him away. And then, of course, he has this huge, I think he had like 12 touchdowns in the second half of the season, and I ended up playing the guy that I traded him to in the championship game. And I think he had four touchdowns, if I remember correctly. He had 4 touchdowns in Week 16. And, of course, I ended up losing to the guy that I traded Williams to. So that definitely is one that I want to forget. Thank you for bringing that one up, Josh.
I'm glad I could do that for you. Oh, man. I forgot how good he just was with the Panthers, especially for that one.
We were talking about the old video game systems. We used to play NCAA when I was at college. And, I knew college football more, and I'd use Memphis with him, and you'd see this 93-year-old running back on Memphis, and you'd work your friends who had no idea why you're using this team. It was great.
That's awesome.
I love the old NCAA games because I loved running the option offense. They did it so well, and you couldn't do that in Madden whatsoever. They didn't really have that set up. There was no real teams that were running any playbook like that. A little bit different nowadays, right? But it was so much fun doing those franchises. I forget what they called them in NCAA, not franchises, like dynasties or something like that.
So I went and looked up. So it's Week 15 of the championship week. I got confused with the 17th week now, but this is his game log for that one. 24 carries, 108 yards, 4 touchdowns.
That's
brutal.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Brutal. I had to lose to the guy that I traded him to. I was so upset. All right.
Tough.
Great show, guys. Let's go around the room really quick. Give us your Twitter handle one more time, and if you want to plug anything, Josh, I'll go to you first.
Hey, my Twitter handle. Find me on Twitter at FYFJosh. You can find my group on Twitter at FrontYardFYF. Find us on YouTube and Twitch under Front Yard Fantasy. Love being here. Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
stuff,
guys.
man. Glad to have you on the show, man. And definitely check out that show. It's awesome, guys. Ryan, what you got?
Find me here every Wednesday night. Find me over at the NFL Draft Bible. Our podcast drops on Wednesday mornings as well. Also doing a bunch of card giveaways and raffles on different videos and stuff we're dropping, and contests on Twitter as well.
Good stuff. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. I'm here every Wednesday, and we do our Friday DFS show. Make sure you check out Going for Two Live on Twitter. We have a show literally every night of the week now. So make sure you check out the other shows on this network. For Josh, for Ryan, I'm Jeff. We will see y'all next week.